Hey there, business owner. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Evolution Podcast. This is our weekly episode, and I'm so happy you are here. Let's get started. Hi there, entrepreneur. Welcome to this week's episode of the Entrepreneur Evolution Podcast. I'm your host, Annette Walter. I'm an operational growth business coach and growth-minded entrepreneur like you, scaling 2 businesses on the national level. This is the place where we share stories about entrepreneurs just like you that are scaling their business, what they're doing now, real time, real talk in their business to help you. Today's guest is Carol Soman. She is based out of the New York area, and her business is Dashboard NY. And I really want you to listen today with 2 things in mind. It's never too late to start a business, okay? Carol started her business at a later chapter in her life. And number 2 is the importance of having solid process in your business to scale. And guess what? It's all about the numbers. So take a listen, learn from her. You will absolutely love her. She's kind, she's giving, and very thoughtful. And she has so much wisdom to bring to the table. Most recently, she hired a president. So you're going to learn about adding that extra layer in your organization to support you and to help you and to scale. So enjoy today's episode. I am here for you. You are the reason why I'm here. And I'm proud of you, entrepreneur. I see you doing it. These are not easy times, but you are showing up, you're learning, you're growing, and you're evolving. If you haven't had time to schedule a one-to-one with me, please do so. This is the time of year where it's the best time to focus on your business and really invest in yourself and become more self-aware than ever to identify the strengths and weaknesses within you and within your organization so that we can help you scale to the next level. Keep evolving, entrepreneur. I am so proud of you, and enjoy today's episode with Carol. Thanks for being here. Hi, Carol. Good morning.
Hi,
how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am doing so well. I am really looking forward to you being here and hearing and sharing your story and your company with our audience. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I have a great story, I think.
That's right. That's right. This is today's episode of the Entrepreneur Evolution. Welcome, everybody. We are joined by Carol Soman, and she is the founder of Dashboard NY and has a fabulous company that is servicing multiple business owners across the United States. Are we global yet, or United States?
Not yet.
Okay. All right, great. So Carol, let's just start from at any point that you want to start in your story. How did you get to this point? Tell us a little bit about you, and we'll take it from there.
Great. So I am a CPA by trade, but I spent the greater part of my career being a CFO and COO of small businesses. And at the age of 55, I lost my job. And I really didn't know what I was going to do. So what I always do is go to recruiters. And they said to me, gee, you really need to take off the year you graduated college because nobody wants to hire somebody that old.
Yeah.
You know, they felt they could talk like that. Now they probably can't, but at that point they did. And I said, well, what can I do with my experience? Because I had years of experience, great experience, could work for me instead of against me. So I decided to start an outsourced accounting business. And right from the start, I knew I just didn't want to start and build myself a job because that would have been a lot easier to go back and work for somebody else. So I said I wanted to start a business. So I just hung out a shingle and I just kept going. And here I am 9 years later. I have a team of 10 and we are nationwide. We have an office in Seattle and an office in Long Island, New York. So it's been a lot of fun. I've done things that I never thought I could do. And I think that we're doing great work. We do everything from bookkeeping to outsource CFO work. And on the CFO part, we do a lot with profitability and really helping companies with their cash flow management, finding and fixing profit leaks, and customizing dashboards and KPIs to really help the owner get much more insight into their financial numbers, to really give them much better tools to make informed decisions. Lots of people call me the profit leak queen because that's what I love to do. And even to this very day, when I find something and tell the business owner, I still shake as if it was my first profit leak.
Right. Wow. I love that. The profit leak queen. I love that. So tell me about the name of the company, because dashboarding is such a powerful thing that we talk about as entrepreneurs with this audience. Tell us about what sparked the inspiration of that name.
So back in the day, in the 90s, I was a controller of a company, and I realized that, I don't like being, when I was a controller and a CFO, and to these very days, I always kind of played a game with myself. Like, I don't want you to ask me questions. I want to tell you everything that you should know and never leave a stone unturned. So I don't want you to ask me questions of what's going on. I want to tell you what's going on. Right. So I started creating these dashboards and giving the owners numbers that I knew that they needed to know so that they can make decisions during the day. So my first job, I worked for an outerwear company, and I used to give them numbers about sales to date, this year versus last year, inventory, and all sorts of things so that they could understand what was going on in the business and never had to ask me a question. Right. And then as businesses changed, I went to different jobs, there was always different things about the business that was important. We dealt with a lot, I always worked in the apparel industry for the most part, so we dealt with a lot of retailers. Mm-hmm. In the retail environment, you never get paid what you think you're owed. You always get deductions taken off. And that was really a serious problem. So making them aware of what kind of deductions were being taken, or who owed money past 90 days, or how old the inventory was. And I remember I was working for an outerwear company at the time, and they never realized that, their inventory, so much of it was so old. And they had that knowledge, and somebody came up to talk to them about selling old inventory. When they knew how much was involved in that inventory, they then made the decision right then and there that it was time for them to liquidate their inventory. Mm-hmm. So those are kinds of things that I continually kept, doing, so that transparency, here it is. Go about your business, and just remember, you don't need a lot of reports. These are the key numbers. These are the flash numbers that you need to maintain. So when it was time for me to name my business, I thought about it. And this is before dashboards were really popular.
Yes, 9 years ago, right?
Right. And so people said to me, I love your name, because every time I open a computer screen or I open my phone, I see dashboards and I think of you. So I didn't even think about that at the time, but I did it because I really felt that that was the right way for a business owner to really not have to do a lot of work to understand their business.
Absolutely. And I think that you probably see this as much as I do, working intimately with business owners, is oftentimes they are afraid to ask questions about the numbers because they don't want to seem as if they don't know, or don't know exactly what the ratio means or what the one terminology means. And they go into like a bobblehead syndrome, right? Where they're just like, okay. So the fact that you're pushing information proactively to them, saving them time, saving them resources, saving them money, making it so easy, is just crucial, because the numbers tell a story, right? The numbers tell the story of your business. It's that plain and simple, right?
And, it should be zero surprises, because in everybody's business, the one thing you don't want is surprises. And, when we walk into clients often, that's where they're at, so many times people call us and say, we can't take it anymore. Right. We were on vacation with our family, and we get a call from the bookkeeper on Friday that, hey, I hate to tell you, but on Monday you need to go to the bank because we don't have enough money to make payroll. And that really can ruin a vacation for somebody. But forgetting about the fact they're on vacation, not knowing that they don't have enough money to meet payroll, that's it's like stepping on a landmine. You just never know when the other shoe is going to drop. And as a business owner, and just as just as business person, it's a really scary thing to not know. It's just hard to live like that.
Absolutely. So I want to rewind, because I know we could go down this topic and have almost a whole nother podcast, Carol, of what business owners really need, and some of the opportunities and challenges and strengths that the financials bring and what you bring. But let's rewind. So you go from 9 years ago, what you said, I loved. You said, I didn't want to make just a job for myself. I wanted to start a company. So starting a company with that mindset. And now I'm assuming that you're not doing the day-to-day bookkeeping for companies. No. You're a business owner. So I really want to hear that, especially for all of our audience. Tell us what were some of those first initial hires with that mindset and how you look today with your team.
Well, now I spend a lot more time, running, being strategic about the visionary of the business. As of the first of the year, I hired a president to really do the operations. And if you think, we've gone through the EOS system, the attraction, and so I'm the visionary and he's the integrator.
Right.
And, when we decided that we were going to become a national, our method, I thought about that I wanted to be a national company. I realized that I couldn't do this by myself, that I had certain skill sets, but they were not enough to take us to that point. So I hired somebody that had the experience of doing it and could do it with me. So that was really a turning point to realizing for myself that, look, Carol, you can do certain things, but you can't do this alone. Yeah. So, that really shifted, and really trying to get away from doing all the work and teaching the team, about what to look for, how to do it, how you have to have that smell test when you're looking at a business, looking beyond the numbers, like talking about pulling apart people's processes, not just looking at numbers, but looking at how did these numbers get there?
Right, exactly. Was that hard for you? I find that service-based businesses have the hardest time because the owner operator is like, well, I can't grow because the client wants me. They want this. They want my touch, right? So was that hard for you? And how did you get through that and build?
Well, I think it's hard. So what I do is when I go onto a prospect, I always bring the people who are going to work on the job, because I don't believe in this bait and switch kind of thing. Right. I think it's wrong if I go and then all of a sudden then two other people show up. I think that's a very uncomfortable position to put in to a client. But I know I do a lot of business development, so a lot of clients know me and ask for me. So I always bring my team, but with the knowledge that, hey, look, you can always call me, and then I check in with him. Yes. And I always, overlook the work just to make sure it's done. I'm very specific about quality and I'm very specific about presentation. So I can't help myself but to oversee it. And our president now does a lot of the same for me, so I don't have to do it. Right. I'm more the visionary and thinking about what's coming next and how do we get there.
That's right. So how much did process and formula and that come into role with building the company?
It's all, you have to have process. And, one of the things I realized during the pandemic is that, when you build a business and you grow together, there is no process. You do everything, everybody's friendly and everybody does everything on their own thing, but it's not sustainable. You can't scale a business unless you have really good processes. And one of the things, before Matthew, our president, became our president, he worked with me as an executive coach. And so he kind of taught me these things that we needed to do, and we started implementing that. And really, if you don't have a process, all you do is scale dysfunctionally, and eventually it's not sustainable. Right. So it's hard. It's really hard because you have people that have been with you that you adore and love and are loyal and been with you for 4, 5, 6 years. And it's a really change for them. And you have to be able to help them see and understand the change and help them through it. And it's funny because you go on site to a client or you talk to a client and you meet with people at the client and you're doing change with them. And you hear, well, that's the way we always do it. And you cringe as a person dealing with a client, the same people who are now resistant to change in our organization, and they cringe when they hear that. So really just helping them along. And it's an evolution, it's a process. But, at the end of the day, trying to explain to them what the new normal looks like, what the new business vision is. So right. We try, at least, we have weekly meetings, and we also try to have at least quarterly all company meetings to explain what we're doing and where we're going.
That's great. That's great. There's like so much here. You are so wonderful for sharing all of this. And I'm so proud of your company. Yeah. So tell me more. What else do you want to share with the audience? What else did you bring? I feel like we were talking earlier and you brought a special quote. Is this something that inspires you?
Well, yeah. So during the pandemic, I read a book by Alicia Keys, who I love her music.
Yes.
And there was a quote in here that I wrote a blog article about, and I'll talk more about it. It says, Nothing but uncertainty is certain. Circumstances come together only to fall apart moments or months later. And then, in a flash, we must rise up and regain our footing. In the rearview mirror, I know so clearly what escaped me then. It's not the ground underneath me that was shifting. It's that it was never still. That part of the work of my journey, getting comfortable with life's groundlessness. And when I read that, it was so critical to the pandemic, and it was so critical to my own growth. And so really it was about getting comfortable with the unknown and embracing this unknown as opportunity, where in the past I was always embracing it with fear. And I saw it with clients as well, where, lots of people had to pivot, people that were in businesses that no longer, were pretty much totally obliterated, like this restaurant group we had, and, they pivoted, but they pivoted differently. They did not bother to think about, okay, let me put 6 tables in the street, and they were in New York City. Well, that didn't really make sense to them. They couldn't sustain their overhead. And they knew that in the winter that was going to be impossible. So what they did is they decided they were going to get excellent at delivery. So they started delivering to the heroes, all the frontline workers, and then they became really excellent in delivering their hot, wonderful food to people, and they made a terrific business out of it. And that is what made them thrive during the pandemic and really created a name for themselves today. And so another company that was, apparel company that was stuck with all this inventory, and people calling, look, I don't want this. I'm returning it, and really started to think about all this fabric they had bought and saying, what, we need to make masks. And even today, they're rethinking, they've rethought their strategy, because people have different needs when they go to work now. Like, they have the hybrid need. Like, well, when we all started, we were all in sweatpants, right?
Right.
But now people are hybrid. So what do you wear when you go to work? And if half the people are in the office, and you can't sit in your sweatpants anymore, so you have to have a certain different kind of look when you're on Zoom now. It's no longer sweatshirts, and people are okay with babies crying and dogs barking. So you have to shift a little. So those are the things we saw. And we also saw, like, people that had been in business a long time almost had to become like startups all over again. And really the emphasis on, like, looking at expenses and saying, like, what's the difference between want to have and need to have, and looking at every expense in that lens. So, that's all the things that we helped our clients with, and about intuition, like, stop thinking about your accounting department as overhead, because, you can rely on your gut, but your gut could not fill out that PPP application. If your numbers weren't right, there was no way your gut could fill that out. So it was a learning experience for us, and it was a learning experience for clients. And some of them did really well. Some of them, unfortunately, do not exist, but I do believe in the entrepreneurial spirit. And if you look back about how many businesses were created during the worst of times, I do think that, there will be opportunities in entrepreneurs that have already started and will continue to start to hopefully build back the economy better.
Absolutely. Well, and you are such a resource, such a connector, such a promoter of business owners across the United States. So I know that you see so much. So as we are recording this, May, almost, gearing into summer mode for a lot of businesses, I'm sure you see that shift. What do you feel is the pulse right now, as how the economy's doing? What's the speed? What's your viewpoint on that?
I am cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
It's funny, because during errands last weekend, every parking lot was full.
Right.
Everywhere you went, you couldn't get a spot, where in the past you could get a spot anywhere. So I'm cautiously optimistic, because I do think that, the vaccine has freed a lot of people, but I'm not really sure. We don't really know what's going to happen in a few months. I do see businesses picking up. I do see people creating new things. So I am cautiously optimistic. So
Good. So what keeps you going, Carol? What do you like to do for your morning routine, your evening routine? How do you really stay so disciplined and focused in your business? Any tips there to share?
Unfortunately, I need to start doing more of these things, taking better care of myself.
I love your candor. I love it.
One of your questions is like, what happens? Why do you have like a meltdown at times? And it's because there are days that I am at my desk eating 3 meals a day.
Mm,
There are times on Friday, I realize I haven't been out since Sunday.
mm,
I took a vacation and I came back worse than I was before.
mm,
So really taking care of yourself, I can say that's what everybody tells me that I need to do, but doing it is sometimes harder.
mm.
But now that I have a president that it really has helped me, it's much easier and the team has gotten to be more independent. So I do think it is possible. I have grandchildren, so spending a little more time with them, and I'm taking up golf, even though I'm not good. So hopefully
Good for you. Good for you. I just took up golf as well. I was like, you know what? I'm always asked. I'm gonna get out there. Why not? Just have fun, right?
Right.
So it sounds like you're going through a lot of growth on your end too. And this president was a really strong move for you.
Yeah.
And I know that that's going to help a lot of people out there who've been contemplating that support, contemplating bringing in some help, whatever it looks like. Can you just talk about this before we wrap up, the psychology of control and letting go and what that was for you, and any suggestive tips that you have around that for other business owners like you that are going through that?
Well, going through EOS in the first chapter, it talks about like letting go of the vine. It's really, really tough, but you just have to do it. And you just have to realize, and I'm going to be 65 in October. So coming to grips with the reality that, I'm not 40 anymore. I'm not 50 anymore. So my business needs to sustain itself way past me. And, I feel that my business is a legacy to my name and to who I am as a business owner. And my president is much younger than I am. So I feel that if I wanted the business to sustain, I have no other choice but to let go. So, facing that, your own mortality and knowing, you're not going to work forever, which I plan on working until I can. My mother worked till she was like 83 years old. Yeah. So, it's just being smarter about, things.
It's great. And setting up some of those boundaries to say, okay, as hard as it is to head out of the office at a certain time or whatever, starting with smaller things can help, right? But all the seasons are different and all the years are different as we're witnessing and learning, right? This is so amazing. How can we help you? How can this community support you? How can we find you? How can we learn more about you, Carol?
Well, the way I think you could support us is that we have written some really great blogs. We wrote a blog about the different Thelma and Louise, and talks about the loneliness of being, almost going off that entrepreneurial cliff with being alone, and also not really understanding your numbers in the first step of doing that. Then there's another blog that we wrote about an entrepreneur, Savannah, who, when she started looking at her KPIs and realizing how much money she had tied up in inventory, then she started, every business owner who has inventory falls in love with their inventory. But when she realized how much money was tied up in her inventory, she broke up with her inventory, sold it for cash, and she was able to take the cash and use it to do other things that helped her business grow. So if people can go to dashboardny.com/blog and kind of share our blogs, that would be very helpful. And all our social media is all on our website. And hopefully you'll soon see our new website.
Yes, that's exciting. Coming down the pike. That's great. Well, we will definitely share all of that in the show notes. The blogs are incredible and so resourceful. And you are just a shining star and such an inspiration, so wise, so caring, so kind. So the last question I have for you, Carol, is what's your personal mantra? What's your personal motto or your go-to phrase when you're having those moments of doubt, fear, anxiety in the business? What do you say to yourself to kind of snap on to the next thing or snap out of it?
I always say to myself, the best is yet to come.
Oh, I love that. I say that all the time. You're going to make me laugh. I love that one too. Yeah, it does. It does help. And, It really is so true, because what we're building and what we're making happen in the entrepreneurial community and with companies and the economies and people's families, really, we're making great things happen. So I truly believe for you, Carol, the best is yet to come. Thank you for being here today. You are wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too.
Wow, what an episode. Did you learn something new? I hope so. I am so happy you were able to be here with us today. I'd love to hear from you. Leave me a review and I will be sure to read it and respond to you. Also, if you'd like to email me, my email address is yourock@ievolveconsulting.com. Hit subscribe, and every Tuesday you'll get notification when the next episode drops. We really have some amazing interviews and tips in the future. Anything you need, I'm here for you. I want you to keep your momentum. I want to help you stay accountable. I want you to stay inspired. I want you to evolve. So please let me know what you need, and I'd love to hear from you. Take care until next time.